Sports with a Z and a T. I am Bryce Zielinski alongside Taylor Lattimore. We are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Johnson Supply in Troy, Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs, and Mohawk Honda. Taylor, we had a huge week of football, opening week of the NFL and week 2 of college football, and we had some chaos in college football finally. We're about to get to that. And NFL, I mean, we're going to have to try to figure out what was real, what was not, who's the contenders, who's the pretenders, that whole 9 yards. But there was a lot of interesting things that developed in week 1. We will get to all of it, mostly good on my end. Taylor is about to jump out the window because his Colts tied.
There's some bright spots, there's some silver linings, but a lot of cloudy skies.
Yeah.
You didn't lose.
You didn't lose. Yes,
that's the mantra.
What is it now? Since is it 8 straight seasons you haven't won on week 1? It's something ridiculous. And now you play Jacksonville down in Jacksonville. So congratulations, you're about to be
streak.
You'll be 0-1. No, you'll be 0-1-1.
No, see, we broke the 1 streak. We didn't win, but we didn't lose on week 1. And,
you know what sucks? For now 17 more weeks, you're gonna have to state your record with 3 syllables. We're whatever, and 1.
You know what though?
It would almost be more impressive if you tied twice.
I came to kind of appreciate the tie because last year it was like the Steelers and someone else tied, and there was some mumbo jumbo bullshit going on that at the end of the season there was ways that the Steelers could make it if the
Eagles when the Eagles tied the Bengals back in 2007, 8ish, around then. They had tied the Bengals, and they were fighting for a playoff spot. They ended up being the wild card team, but they got in because of the tie. They went to the NFC Championship game. It was the year they lost to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals lost to the Steelers in the Super Bowl. That was the
ties,
year.
Not a loss. I'll take it, I guess, because I have to, and I have no choice.
You would take it because in the big picture, it's not a big deal, but it hurts because you tied the Texans.
Yes.
And you looked horrible doing it.
Let's talk about it later. We'll get into it, but we got other things to do.
We got other things to go. College football week 2 recap, Taylor, and really crazy week right off the rip with that noon game. Too. Oh my goodness. Alabama and Texas. And I texted you this. I was like, look, I'm all for Alabama losing, just not this week, not to Texas. That's
then we got to hear they're back for
no, we're gonna have to hear that Texas is back for a whole week, and then they'll lose to Kansas, and then everybody will shut up again. This was like Texas's national championship game because this probably took every last breath from them. Look, Texas did Texas things. They had this game, and they simply gave Bryce Young and the Heisman favorite simply too much time. A minute 20 is plenty of time for Alabama to get down there and kick a field goal, and that's exactly what they did. Alabama squeaks by as the number 1 team in the nation. They are, now no longer the number 1 team in the nation, but they squeak by. It's not going to be a knock on Alabama that they had a close game at Texas, but I surprised a lot of people. Texas went into that game 20.5-point underdogs.
Hey, I mean, you say that it won't affect them, but what if it comes down to 2 teams that are undefeated? Some Ohio State maybe looks amazing. I mean, they look okay, but and Alabama, and they both haven't lost. Maybe for seeding, they still make it, but for seeding wise, be like, oh, well, remember when Alabama struggled against Texas? But no, it probably won't affect them because a win's a win. It doesn't matter in the big scheme of things. It would have been a much more significant if it had been a loss. And man, it was close. It was so close to a loss. It's Penn 1 point, literally.
Yeah, Penn State was on at the same time, and I'm a big believer in no matter what the score is, I'm watching all 60 minutes of Penn State. That's just what I do. I'm watching it from start to finish. And Penn State was obliterating Ohio. It got to the point where not only did they take Sean Clifford out, they also took Drew Aller out too. So we had the third string quarterback in. Penn State was obliterating them. And I'm switching back and forth, and I'm like, all right, we got. I even switched Penn State off to watch the end of that last like 2 minutes of that game because it was like, oh my God, Bama's about to lose to Texas. They didn't. Bama survived, and they lived to fight another day. And even if they lost to Texas, I think they would have been fine. But that's crushing for Texas because Texas upsetting Alabama would have catapulted Texas probably into the top 10 from being unranked to the top 10. Where now they're 1-1, and that probably ends their season because I don't see them winning out. They're just not that good of a football team, but they had the home field advantage. They had the adrenaline of, facing the number one team in the nation. Give them credit for sticking into it, but, Texas does Texas things and chokes per usual. Georgia handled themselves against Samford. Ohio State handled themselves against Arkansas State, Michigan, as well as Hawaii. Clemson crushed Furman, which leaves me to the next biggin of the college football weekend in week 2. Appalachian State, they do it every year. They ruin somebody every single year, and 2022's victim would be Texas A&M at home, being upset by Appalachian State, 17-14. Look, Texas A&M just simply did not have enough. They struggled in this game, and Appalachian State took them out. And pretty much eliminated Texas A&M from serious championship contention, or really any serious. Look, it's not an SEC game, so you can still make the SEC championship game. One loss won't kill you, but this takes Texas A&M from 6 down to 24. This is definitely a big blow for Texas A&M, and to be honest with you, the SEC, because we talked about before in the beginning of the season, like Big Ten's the deepest conference, and the SEC is more top heavy. And we were looking at Texas A&M as one of those teams that may be part of that top tier echelon of the SEC. They get upset by Appalachian State. Maybe the SEC isn't as good as some people like to think it is.
Yeah, I think you're dead on with the way that we categorize them as the SEC being very top heavy, because the Big Ten, they don't usually lose unless they're playing each other, because they're all decently good. And yeah, this puts a damper on everything Texas A&M wanted because, 6 to all the way to 24. That's just sad. I mean, you lose, and college football is such a fickle environment. In like with only being 4 teams that make it right now. I mean, that is changing, but for right now, the 4 teams, if you lose one game, it can destroy your entire season because half the times, the top teams are going to go undefeated or be a 1 loss. 2 is, you're completely done most of the time. If Alabama lost to Texas, I mean, would it stop them from getting in? Probably not, but it would probably stop them from being the number 1 overall team. They'd probably have to settle for a 3 or a 4. Not that that matters to Alabama. They just want to get in. But yeah, 1 loss can make all the difference. And sorry, Texas A&M. Try next year.
Yeah.
You haven't even played Alabama yet.
Like, a loss to Appalachian State. Look, and I've, looked at this closely, as we all do, with, what the committee really looks at when they're looking at the best teams. And if Texas A&M happens to be on the borderline, like 4, 5, 6, 7, one of those teams fighting for that last 4 spot, they're going to go back to this. And not that Appalachian State's a bad loss, but compared to probably the other teams in that area, it will probably be the worst loss. And that's going to hinder Texas A&M from if they find themselves still in that position, which I doubt. But if
but that's
you're going to look at that loss.
If you're playing in the SEC, then you're going to pencil in a loss to, either Alabama or Georgia in the conference. I mean, probably, if
they're losing. They're going to get, but they're going to get wiped.
Is if that's your 1 loss, is it like Alabama or like last year, Alabama and Georgia, they played each other and then they played each other in the conference championship. So it was like, okay, that's going to be the 1 loss for either one of those teams. They're still probably going to make it in because, you lose to a good team. That's fine. but you lose to an Appalachian State. It's just not the best look, and that's why you shoot yourselves in the foot, and now you're probably not in the dance at all.
7, Oklahoma handled Kent State, which leads me to number 8, Notre Dame, who is
formerly
ranked. The 0-2 Fighting Irish. Look, we all thought, wow, they played Ohio State pretty tough. That was an impressive, showing on the road for Notre Dame. Well, they responded by coming home and losing to Marshall. They are 0-2. They are not ranked. The sky is falling. They lost their starting quarterback now for the year. He has a shoulder injury that will keep him out basically for the rest of the season. Notre Dame's done. They're not in a conference. They're not in a conference championship game. They have 2 losses, and one of them is a bad loss to Marshall. We can write off Notre Dame.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, Notre Dame's done.
Bye-bye. Good riddance. We don't have to talk about you the rest of the year. Thank you.
Which makes usually for a lot better of a conversation, because being out of conference, they normally, if they're good, they throw a whole wrench into the entire system every single year. So,
not this year. Not
don't
this
have
year.
to worry about it.
Bye-bye. BYU and Baylor. Look, BYU upset Baylor at home. It was a very good game. Baylor falls victim there, so another top 10 team loses there. USC handled Stanford. Oklahoma State handled Arizona State. Kentucky and SEC, a very impressive matchup there down in the swamp. Kentucky on the road. That's a big win for them on the road against 12 Florida. Utah bounces back and wins their first game 73-7 against Southern Utah. Michigan State beat Akron. Miami beat Southern Miss. Arkansas beat South Carolina. Tennessee and Pitt was a good top 25 matchup between an SEC and ACC battle. And Tennessee handled their business there, and Pitt fell. NC State beat Charleston Southern. Big Ten took a loss with Wisconsin, and this is kind of where I go, Taylor. Like I was telling you, the Big Ten West is just not that good this year. Everybody's in the Big Ten East. Wisconsin at home losing to Washington State. Now, it is a Pac-12 team. However, that's going to be deemed as a bad loss. That is not going to help Wisconsin's cause at the end of the year. Could they still make the Big Ten championship game? Sure, absolutely. Ole Miss handled their business. Wake Forest handled their business, and Houston loses to Texas Tech, which brings us to, Taylor, the next top 25. Georgia is the new number 1, Bama 2, Ohio State 3, Michigan 4, Clemson 5, Oklahoma 6, USC moves up to 7, Oklahoma State into the top 10 at 8, Kentucky into the top 10 at 9, Arkansas there as 10. Some notables: Michigan State is at 11. Florida fell down to 18. Texas is 21. So they were not ranked last week, Taylor. Think about this. Texas was not ranked last week, loses to Alabama, and is still ranked ahead of Penn State, who's 2-0. Drives me nuts. Penn State is 22. And we will get to that big matchup here this week. Pitt is 23, Texas A&M 24, Oregon at 25. Nothing really, Taylor, to digest there.
No,
the
looks
top
pretty straight.
Yeah, straightforward, and you still got some shuffling when these.
Michigan and Ohio State, like that's gonna shift around because
Penn State with their matchup this week. If they win, they should move up pretty a lot more. Michigan State there at 11. The Big Ten putting out a big showing once again. I'm just saying. But let's get to some of these games this week before we head into the NFL side of things here. You look at ranked, not a lot of big games this week, but some to note. Georgia does have their first SEC game against South Carolina on the road. BYU and Oregon at 3:30. That is a big game. BYU on the road there. They are the 12th team in the nation. But other than that, you look at the ranked games, and there's really not much to write home about until you get to Penn State at Auburn. Penn State is 3-point favorites on the road. That is going to be it's already giving me a headache, Taylor. The orange out in Auburn. They're expecting over capacity crowd there for the 3:30 game at CBS down there in Auburn. Penn State, this is their first game at an SEC stadium since Joe Pa and the Nittany Lions went to Bama in 2010. That did not go very well. But we won't talk about that. It's fine. But this is a big game. The big test for Penn State. Last year they beat Auburn at home. Now they go on the road. If they can get this game and you start off the season against Purdue and Auburn, two big road games as victories, that could catapult Penn State into a nice season here.
I mean, yeah, you certainly can't lose. I mean, you can't. You want to prove that you're legit, then Penn State needs to go in there and win that game against an SEC opponent and really put a stamp on that season. And I do think it would catapult them probably into the top 10 easily.
Mm-hmm.
How far into it, we don't know, but it would set them up nicely to, capitalize if they can get a win at Michigan or where I don't know.
Here's where I'm at. Like Penn State's schedule after this is Northwestern, LOL, Illinois.
Really
no, Penn State's schedule is easy. It's Central Michigan, Northwestern, and then at Michigan. So those are your next three games. So if you can win at Auburn, catapult yourself up higher, and then handle your business against Central Michigan and Northwestern, you're going into the big house with probably an undefeated Michigan as well. That's going to be a game.
Yeah, I mean, and that's Michigan number 4 ranked as of right now. And if they hold that position and you go into it as like a 6 or 5 ranked Penn State and then beat them.
Yeah, because Michigan plays nobody. UConn, Maryland, Iowa, and Indiana.
Yeah.
Before us.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I think they'll be fine, and maybe they can easily get this game and the next couple. But if that Michigan game is 2 undefeated teams at Michigan
at the big house, oh,
that is gonna be tough.
Well, and Penn State. So they have Michigan, then they come home for their whiteout game against Minnesota, and then they're the big noon kickoff, which could be another whiteout against Ohio State.
Oof.
So that's their 3 tough ones after this stretch. So, but you got to beat Auburn first. And then go from there. Let's go to the NFL because that's going to take up most of our time. That's safe to say, right?
Do it.
We had some chaos, man, in week 1.
It was rough.
And it was rough. And our picks are rough.
Yeah, I know.
Really rough. I was 7-9 and you were 9-7. We usually don't do that bad. Yeah. A lot of chaos. You called the Bills game though on Thursday night. The Rams, I think there's concern for the Rams. They don't have a run game. Cam Akers looks horrible. Darrell Henderson is not much better, but the starter. The Rams defense looked lost. Couldn't tackle for a lick of anything. Stafford did not look good. Keep in mind, he is kind of hampered by an elbow injury. Cooper Kupp did Cooper Kupp things.
Their offensive line looked terrible.
Their offensive line looked really bad. They didn't get Allen Robinson involved. It was just the Bills bad. Like the Bills looked good, but they didn't need to do much either.
Well, the Bills didn't blitz. I think that was the thing that threw out to me the most the next day. It was like the Bills didn't blitz at all. They were just pressuring with 4 guys, and they were able to get like 7 sacks. And I don't know if that's mainly on the Bills, addition of Von Miller. It's going to be a really good offensive or defensive line, or that the Rams are just really, really missing like Whitworth, and just like they might be a issue going forward. I mean, Cooper Kupp. I thought Stafford looked a little rushed and kind of scared back there. And I don't know if that was because of the elbow, if that was affecting him, or if it was just the fact that he was getting pressured like every freaking down. But they looked bad.
They look
Sloppy.
bad. They look bad. And the Bills, obviously, people that believe in the Bills ran away with it. Like, see, I knew the Bills were that good, and see, they just crushed the Super Bowl defended Super Bowl champions. I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen did look good.
He looked very good.
He was efficient, but I'd want to see it more consistently. We'll get to that here on the flip side of recapping week 1. Let me go to the Sunday games. Eagles beat the Lions 38-35. Eagles look good, man. And let me tell you something before I go into the Eagles. The Lions are one of those teams. They may not win a lot of games, but they sure as hell are going to make you play a full 60. That is a scrappy team with some good weapons on offense. But the Eagles were a little too much for them. That offense had over 500 total yards. 4 different players for the Eagles ran in for a tutty. Jalen Hurts looked efficient as a passer, and per Pro Football Focus, he was the most efficient passer in week 1, which kind of surprised me. AJ Brown is a menace. AJ Brown is a menace, an absolute menace. 11 receptions for 155 yards. And, the defense could improve a little bit, but I think that also has to do, like, a lot of these teams that didn't play a lot of their starters in the preseason, I noticed struggled defensively. So give them maybe another week. We'll see. They have a big test coming up. We'll get to that game as well. But the Eagles look good as well.
Yeah, I watched all of the Eagles game because I had it up.
Did you?
I had it up because we had a friend over and he's an Eagles fan. So I watched the Colts game and I watched the Eagles game. They were both up. And I actually made money on the Eagles game. So there you go. I made money on both games actually. But they looked really good. Defense looks scary at times. That secondary is legit. And the pass rush that gets there is also legit. Like every part of the Eagles looks legit. The only, obviously, like Miles Sanders, I don't love, but it's fine because you can run with him and Gainwell, and Jalen Hurts can rush 17 times for 90 yards.
Don't forget about Boston Scott too.
Yeah, so like you don't necessarily need to have one star back, I guess. But yeah, I thought the Eagles looked good. I think you can't underestimate the Lions though, and I do think that you can't ever let your foot off the gas against them because they'll always bring it back. Like you said, offensively, Amon-Ra St. Brown, DeAndre Swift, both ridiculously good. Chark was even getting involved. Hawkinson, their offensive line is really good. Their defense is not great, especially
that defense is bad.
Brown at all.
That's their weak. That's most certainly their weakness.
Yeah, and so it was a good showing from Detroit, and I thought that game was kind of over, and I started just like paying attention to the Colts game, and then I kind of
me too.
And then I kind of looked up, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually a game.
So yeah, no, you can't. And that's why I said Detroit's going to make you play a full 60 minutes. Saints squeaked by Atlanta. Atlanta should have won that game. It's kind of hilarious that they blew yet another game, but the Saints and Jameis Winston, nice little comeback there. I think we saw some nice things from the Saints.
That was another weird game where it was like you thought Atlanta had it in the bag, and then you look up and you're like, damn, wow, Saints pulled that off. Like how? Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'd like to see a little more out of. Well, Kamara got hurt apparently mid-game with some type of rib issue.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's fine now.
Yeah, no, he'll be fine. Michael Thomas looked good.
Yeah, he did.
He might still be fantasy relevant. I might have been wrong for not picking him in any league because I was trying to just stay away from him because I was afraid of past injuries and whether or not he
So
can perform with
I
Jameis.
stayed away from him to a point. I did actually end up getting him in one of my leagues, and I didn't start him. He is not one of my starters, but I'm thinking about it this week. He was good.
Yeah, no, he's very good, and it's kind of sad I don't have any shares of him, but whatever, I'll live with it.
You'll live. Bears Niners, and this game.
I don't know what to make of this game, honestly.
First of all, they played in Lake Michigan.
They were squeegeeing the field.
That they were squeegeeing the field. The sidelines were crooked.
Doesn't make any sense.
Sidelines were crooked. It was.
Can we just throw this game out? Like, what does it mean? Does any of it mean anything? Is Trey Lance bad?
Like, no, I don't think you can gauge anything from this game outside of the Bears could swim better than the Niners.
Well, that's why I have Darnell Mooney in a couple leagues and one league that I'm like, I think I'm gonna leave him in and give him just one more week.
You can't take anything. Like I have Trey Lance as
I have Trey Lance in a bunch of leagues too.
In one of my leagues, it's a super flex league, so I have to use 2 quarterbacks. Duh.
Yeah.
My quarterbacks are Lamar and Trey Lance.
In a 2 quarterback league, I also have Lamar.
Look at that. Brilliant minds think alike.
Yes.
But I'm just like, I'm not panicking. Not going to panic. No. That game just got to throw out the window.
Yeah.
And we're going to move on.
And that's what I'm thinking with like Darnell Mooney, because he's still like the number 1 wide receiver on paper in Chicago, whatever.
I like Darnell Mooney a lot. I think he's going to
get a ton of targets, so it's going to be like whatever. And he had like 1 point, but I'm like, don't panic. Don't panic. That game meant nothing. It was so weird because they're playing in a monsoon.
Right. One of the biggest surprises is this Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game. Burrow with 4 interceptions, 3 of them in the first half. Bengals look terrible, and they just decide to lay an egg at home against Mitch Trubisky and the Steelers, and then that overtime was as wacky as that was just bad. That ending was batshit. I don't know how first of all, how do you tie a game and then miss the extra point? What are you doing? And then we had so many. Evan McPherson was so damn good, right? And now he just forgot how to kick footballs. Makes no sense. The Steelers won this game in overtime. Yeah,
and I don't know. Again, like I'm not going out here being like, "Oh, Burrow sucks. The Bengals are awful.
No.
The Steelers are amazing." I think the Steelers' defense is very, very good. I think their offense is questionable at best, and I think the Bengals.
Deontay Johnson made some impressive catches, though.
Yeah, he's a good wide receiver. It's just I don't know if we can trust Mitch Trubisky, whatever they're going to try out at quarterback long term. But their defense is good. They just lost T.J. Watt though for however long. Apparently,
about 6 to 8 weeks. Torn pec, torn, but
not surgically repaired. I think
right.
that's what they said, but it's gonna be rehab and whatever else. So I just think that Steelers defense is incredibly good, and Burrow had a bad day, but I don't think that the Bengals are going to be trash by any means, but it was certainly unexpected. Plus, honestly, they could have won the game as well. Like it came down to the end, and they were in overtime, and just bad kicking, which played a lot of teams.
Kicking. Yep.
Played a lot of teams.
Yep. You sound hurt. We'll get to that here in a little bit.
A lot of teams.
Dolphins.
Some kickers got cut soon after.
Dolphins, Patriots. Boy, do the Patriots look bad.
Yeah.
Boy, do the Patriots look bad.
Did we expect any different, though?
No, look, the Dolphins did what they had to do. Defensively, not much, because the Patriots' offense, to me, looked lost. Mac Jones complaining of a back problems. Turns out he's going to be okay. They labeled us back spasms, whatever. Okay, if that's what it was, it wasn't Matt Patricia, Joe Judge leading the offense. No, not any of that. Patriots looked horrible. They looked like they could be the worst team in the AFC East, and that says a lot considering about a game that we're going to talk to about after this. But the Patriots look just downright abysmal. And the Dolphins looked not bad. Tua didn't look great. by any stretch, but they did what they had to do to win the game.
Yeah, and Tua's got great weapons. Waddle scored a touchdown. He had one of the best celebrations. I don't know if
one of the best celebrations ever.
Waddle.
I love the
It's
Waddle.
Amazing. I want to see it happen every game. Like, so you have him, and then Tyreek Hill's gonna Tyreek Hill, and you know, I think Tua has weapons that are gonna make him look better than maybe he actually is. And Patriots, yeah, they're bad. They don't have any weapons on the other side.
They have no offensive. That's the thing. Like, yes, you talk about Mac Jones and maybe he didn't play that well. Okay, but look what you put around him.
Nothing.
You know what I mean? Nelson Aguilar is probably their most talented wide receiver.
And
Kendrick Bourne, no.
Devontae Parker, nah.
Like, I mean, Devontae Parker was a nice conversation point for a while. Yeah, and he's a veteran in this league. But I mean,
never liked him. I've never liked him as a wide receiver. And yeah, no, the Patriots are bad. You're not working with Tom Brady, who can make Jacoby Myers look like, you know, a world beater out there.
Right.
You're not. So why are you still trying this way? If you're going to have Mac Jones, who is an average quarterback at best, you need to surround him with, you know, the Antonio Browns of the world or whoever. I just throwing that out. I don't know why Antonio Brown was the first name that came to my mind. That man should not play any more football, I don't think. But yeah, no, the Patriots not good. Miami, decent enough. I think that they will do exactly as I expected and come second in the AFC East.
Patriots, not good. Analysis. Not good.
They have so many issues. It's
bad. It's really, really bad. You want to talk about really bad though, Taylor? That would be the next team we're going to talk about, and that would be the goddamn Jets. They played a game. They did. They played. I don't know. Maybe not. We're not sure.
Tried.
Joe Flacco did. They had him throw the football 59 times. That is a fact.
I didn't actually know that because I hadn't dived into it, and I don't watch Jets games.
Joe Flacco did throw a football 59 times. I can confirm. My buddy was at the game. He sat in the rain to watch the Ravens just absolutely make mincemeat of the Jets. He wanted to kill himself. Yeah, the Jets look horrible. And Robert Saleh, I mean, look, he was a very good defensive coordinator, but sometimes coaches are simply that, very good coordinators and not meant to be head coaches. I think the Jets are running into that problem with Robert Saleh. You should not, I don't care who you are, allow an offensive coordinator to call 59 passing plays for Joe Flacco. I don't care who you are. Especially when you have Breece Hall and Michael Carter.
Yeah, you probably shouldn't call 59 pass attempts for anyone.
No. I talk about when I with my Philly sports podcast. I'm just so busy. I'm lucky I could do this one. I haven't been doing that one. But when we talk Eagles games all the time, whether it was Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz, we talked almost every week. If the game plan got too pass heavy, it's like you cannot ask any quarterback. I don't care if you're Patrick Mahomes. Any quarterback, if you're throwing more than 30 times a game, you're out of game script. You're out of game script.
Yeah, because you have to have a good mix.
You need a balanced attack. You need to run the football.
Yeah, and you got to keep the defense honest, or they're just.
And don't tell me, we were too far behind. Final score was 24-9. You were in that game till really late third, early fourth quarter.
Yeah, and I mean, from all we've heard about
halftime, it was 10-3. Give me
how good Breece Hall could be. You need to use him, and you just need to, and I just don't get it. No, the Jets are bad. They're as bad as we thought they were, maybe worse.
They are who we thought they were. We definitely didn't let them off the hook.
No. So, and Baltimore gets an easy victory in the end, honestly. Which we expected.
Baltimore was not asked to do much.
I don't have a survivor pool, but a couple of people asked me who I would pick, and it was definitely Baltimore against the Jets.
Let's not talk about survivor.
Oh, what did you pick? Bryce?
I thought it was the easiest game of the fucking week.
Who'd you pick? The Giants against the Giants?
Denver.
Oh. Nah, I think this was the Ravens.
I wanted to save the Ravens. I don't trust the Broncos as much as I trust the Ravens. I thought playing Seattle would have been. We're gonna stay on track, Taylor. We're gonna get there. Don't get me angry. I'm in a good mood today. Do not get me angry. See, now you got me all hot and bothered. You know what's gonna get me in a good mood, but get you in a really bad mood?
Don't. You just stop.
No. There's two. See, these next two games. This one's like the appetizer to the main course. Washington and Jacksonville.
Oh, it's such a weird game.
Such a weird game. And Carson Wentz tossed 4 tutties. Looked pretty good against Jacksonville. See, he can beat Jacksonville, Taylor. He just has to be on a better team.
No, he's not on a better team. He may have a better system.
I mean, he beat the Jaguars. He beat the Jaguars.
He guess he did, but I don't even know what to say about it, honestly. Like, no, he looked fine, I guess. I mean,
no, when you look at this game,
looks really good for fantasy. 7 receptions or 7.
Yeah, and Jahan Dotson is emerging as a star quickly for them. The Commanders are a nice football. I mean, look, they have some nice pieces. I'm not going to sit there and say they have, I'm definitely not saying they're even this. I don't even know if they might be the second best team in the NFC East now. We'll get to that in a little bit too. But I mean, Washington really right now, I mean, you have Carson Wentz, who, as you and I know all too well, very up and down. You don't know what you're getting week in and week out with him, but when he's on, Taylor, he can play at an MVP level. We have seen that from him. And then when he's bad, he's bad. But,
I think
bottom line is the Jaguars are still the Jaguars, and they have a lot of growing to do. I do like the direction that the Jaguars are going, though. They do have a good head coach in Doug Peterson now. Lawrence seems to be at least a little more calm as the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Give it time, though, because he's learning a new playbook. And, last year was pretty much a throw. I count Trevor Lawrence as a rookie this year. I do.
Yeah, I mean, the situation he was in last year was terrible. So you give him 2 years to figure it out, and we'll see how he does next year, I guess, in his pseudo sophomore year. As for Carson Wentz, I think certain situations, he is situation dependent. Like, I think he's doing better in Washington, especially this first week, because Washington isn't a run first and then hit him with play action, hit the under stuff if you need to, just to get the extra yardage. Like, you're working with 3rd and 5. They're more of a explosive type down the field team. That's why they only, Gibson, their top running back, got 14 carries. That's it. They threw it 41 times with Wentz. That's their bread and butter right now is throwing the football, spreading the field, using the weapons in McLaurin, Samuel, Dotson now, and Gibson apparently as downfield options. And I think that suits Carson Wentz better than what Frank Reich is trying to do in Indianapolis. And that's why I just think maybe this season he'll probably work better. I mean, you're right. He beat Jacksonville. But also the loss at Jacksonville was not all his fault, and I will bang the drum on that every day. Every part of that team lost. I blame the Raiders' loss on Wentz. That's just me last year. But let's move on to the next thing that I know you want to freaking bring up.
See, Taylor.
I don't want to hear shit out of you when I'm talking.
I can't promise that. I do have to recalculate our scores, though, because we have a tie. Although I am going to just chalk us up as a loss for each, 9-7 and 7-9, because we were both wrong. I'm not going to count ties in our picks. We were just wrong.
We were not right. We were both wrong.
We were not right. The Colts tied the Texans at 20. We opened the show talking about this. I have a lot of thoughts, but I know, Taylor, you have plenty. So The floor is yours. This is not a safe space, but we can make it one.
No, it's not a safe space because you're gonna whatever. All right, so this game was rough to watch. The Colts played incredibly sloppy.
I enjoyed myself, to be honest.
Ryan fumbled a handoff twice. Once got turned over, the other one they were able to fall on, which is fine. I mean, it's not fine. You need to fix that, but like that's fixable. That's easy stuff. Like, that's a new team, but he's a veteran quarterback. That's not going to be an every down thing, that every game thing, I hope. So I'm not so much worried about that. Some of the turnovers, yeah, like what were you looking at, Ryan? What were you doing? The play calling, I'm getting real sick of it with Frank Reich. In the red zone, and not even in the red zone, within 5 yards of the goal line, why on God's green earth are you, one, not letting Jonathan Taylor touch the ball at all, and two, running a wildcat play on 4th down? Stop being cute or trying to be cute, Frank Reich. You know what they did as soon as you came out in the wildcat? They're like, oh, they're running it. They're not going to fucking throw it because the goddamn Neiman Hines is getting the ball. Like, sure, sometimes teams decide to throw it out of the wildcat, but 9 times out of 10, they're going to run it some freaking way that you can run as many fakes as you want. The team knows you're running the ball, and they just stuffed him. So I think that was stupid. And then, later on in the 4th quarter, when we were driving to try to tie the game up, guess who, got through to the end zone second try? Jonathan Taylor from like 6 yards out, because, he's one of the best, if not the best running back in the league. Why would you not give it to him? Other than that, I thought the team played pretty well.
Other than that, it's fine.
We were down 20-3, came all the way back and tied up the game.
The fact
had
that you
the
were
ball
down on
the 40 for a 42-yard kick to win the game. So we essentially had it won if we didn't have Rodrigo Shankenship on our team, who proceeded to get cut on Wednesday. Or no, I think it was today.
It was today. It was today.
It was today. Yeah. We record today, so you guys are probably listening to this on a Thursday or beyond. But yeah, he was cut today, Wednesday, because he missed a 42-yarder, and it could have been the ending to a perfect victory first week. Mute yourself.
I can't. I literally can't.
You can in the app or in whatchamacallit, StreamYard.
No, I have the settings. I can't. My hand hurts.
Yeah, of course you can't. But down 20-3, I was feeling pretty downtrodden. They came all the way back. Good sign. Missed the field goal that could have won it. Get a new kicker. We don't know who our kicker is. Hopefully he's better.
Oh, you don't know yet?
No, they haven't got one. Well, it's probably going to be, they signed 2 guys to the practice squad, and they're going to probably take one of them up. And he's a guy, he's been on the McLaughlin. He's been on the team before.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not great, but
no, there's a reason.
All he needs to do is hit a fucking 42-yarder.
See, this is why I'm just so thankful that the Eagles have had 2 kickers over the span of 2 decades. They have had David Akers and Jake Elliott. That's all they've needed. I am so thankful. I mean,
we had Adam Vinatieri for a goddamn long while, but then he finally retired, and so now we're stuck panicking because we've had him, and we had Vanderjagt, and we had Hall of Fame kickers for the a decade or more. So it's now we're kind of struggling. But the best part about the day for the Colts, of all the things that was bad, the getting down, the comeback, not winning the game, they had the most offensive yards in the entire NFL. That's all I'll say.
You really took advantage of it, didn't you?
Yeah, it's 20 points. Didn't do well in the red zone. I'll tell you that much, because Frank Reich's play calling was god awful. But and also the wide receivers dropped 2 touchdown passes that could have been. So
I feel wonderful about our bet. Just so you know, I feel wonderful about it.
Well, he's gonna get to 4,000 yards. He had over 350 yesterday or the other day, and that was with
I don't
Jonathan Taylor
think.
running for
Look,
160.
I don't think Ryan is going to be throwing the football as much as he did that game. I mean, hey, maybe if you're behind more than you
Who
expect, which
knows?
is
I think it's going
possible.
to be a healthy mix of run and pass, but the thing is, Jonathan
He's
Taylor
not throwing
did.
for 30 touchdowns. He's just not.
I think he will. I think he'll be fine.
Okay.
There's a lot of games. All he needs to do is average little over 2 a game.
They just
and he had 2 dropped touchdowns. They could have had 3 touchdowns.
Your last 2 games, Taylor, is a loss to the Jaguars and a tie to the Texans.
I'm aware. But one was a completely different quarterback, which makes a whole lot of difference. When
clearly it does.
It was not Matt Ryan's fault. We lost that game.
Progress. You're right.
Fault.
You're right. This is progress. You lost to the Jaguars, and you've.
Would we be talking about this if the kicker had made the kick? Would we be having this conversation at all? No,
a little bit.
No, because a win's a win. Who cares if you were down by 20-3? If you came back and won the game, who gives a fuck? No one. You threw for the most. You got the most yards in the entire NFL on offense. You can't get much better than that.
You know the Eagles play the Colts this year in Indy. We should go to that game.
I chose not to go to that game. For the sole reason that if I went and the Eagles won, I would have to listen to you and I'd be sad at the game. So I picked the one where they play the Chiefs. So if they lose, I'll still be happy I got to see Patrick Mahomes. He's fucking the man. Let's talk about that game.
Not yet. We still have the Baker Mayfield revenge game to quickly recap. Revenge game that wasn't. The Browns, first of all, terrible game to watch if you watched it. But the Browns squeaked by the Panthers. There's not really much to go on that. Panthers are a bad football team. Baker looked And, Jacoby Brissett did what he had to do against a bad football team. Do I still believe in the Browns at all? No, I do not. But, want to know, right? Go Browns, huh? This next game really pissed me off. Giants and Titans. Titans are bad. Taylor, the fact that you are in first place in the AFC South.
You're damn right.
At 0-0-1 is just
you are damn right. Number 1, baby.
I'm just look, I'm happy that you're happy. Honestly, truly, I am.
I'm not happy. I'm content. I'm fine. Because our division sucks and we're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, look, you're in first place. Every other team lost. The Titans are horrible. How do you let the Giants come back in that game? And how do you first of all, Bullock missing that kick is just embarrassing. But the Giants are not good. The Giants are not a good football team. They struggled against a bad Titans team. And then the Titans were like, we don't want to win this game. Here you go, Giants. And the Giants went and won. The Giants suck too. Giants are horrible. That is a bad football team.
The Giants have one weapon and one weapon only. And it's Saquon Barkley. Mm-hmm. And that's why I picked him in my Dynasty League. At age 25. He's still 25. It kind of blows my mind still. It feels like he's been in the league for a while, but he's only 25, and they're going to lean on him. As long as he stays healthy, man, knock on wood, he might end up as the number 1 running back in all of fantasy. Because he's all they've got. He had nearly 200 yards of offense. It's insane. Without him, they are nothing. Without him, the Giants don't have an offense.
Hey man, you're preaching it. I mean, I know Saquon as well as anyone. That's when he's on, man, he is a combination of Barry Sanders and Eric Dickerson. I mean, he could be that. He's that good. You know what I mean? I mean,
he's a good receiver. He's a good runner.
Yes.
He is the entire offense for them.
Yes.
I pray to God he does not go down, but I love that I have him in my Dynasty League for the next couple of years to come.
Even as an Eagles fan, it was cool to see how Brian Daboll reacted I think that was cool. I mean, he that was a really cool reaction that he had with his players after the game. But we will move on to Packers Vikings. They're pressing the panic button up in Lambeau, Taylor, because that Packers team looks abysmal. And look, the Vikings won at home. They did look solid. Justin Jefferson is incredible. But I think this is more about how bad the Packers may be than really how good the Vikings may be. Packers looked like an incompetent football team in week 1.
Yeah, well, I think this is one of the picks that I had over you.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Pick the Packers, and I believe in the Vikings. I think the Vikings. Do I think they're going to win the Super Bowl? No, I think they're going to be taken as far as Kirk Cousins can take them, which I don't think is to the Super Bowl, or maybe it's to the Super Bowl but won't win. But either way, I think that they're a good football team. I think their defense is good enough. I think their offense is spectacular. I think, Justin Jefferson is, in my opinion, he's inching closer to the best wide receiver in the entire league. And he showed out this week and just proved that everyone that he's a force to be reckoned with. And you add Thielen into that and Dalvin Cook. Yeah, this Vikings roster, especially on the offensive side, is pretty scary. And I think that that's going to carry them through a lot of games, especially with teams that can't put up points as quickly as they can, like the Green Bay Packers, because the Green Bay Packers have a big problem that we all knew about, that Aaron Rodgers knew about when he signed his contract.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers tried to sound the alarm. It's just...
How are you replacing Devontae Adams with Christian Watson and Romeo
Christian
Dobbs?
Watson may as well just never show up again.
For dropping that wide open touchdown.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot to fix up there in Lambeau. There is not much to fix, however, out in Arrowhead. The Chiefs absolutely obliterated the Cardinals. And I think, Taylor, this is kind of what I was like. Look, the Chiefs are very, very good. We know this. Mahomes, I think, is out to prove I don't need Tyreek Hill. Everybody's been doubting me. Here, let me just throw up 5 tutties and call it a day. Mahomes looked as composed and in command of the offense as he ever has, which is a scary thought for the NFL. Chiefs look good, and the Cardinals do not. That offense, I'm actually a little I'm not pressing the panic button on Kyler because I think just overall fantasy-wise, he's fine. But clearly they miss DeAndre Hopkins. Clearly they miss Christian Kirk. Clearly they can't rely on the run game as much because that defense is not good at all, and they're going to be playing catch-up for a majority of the time. This is why I didn't pick the Cardinals as a wild card team this year, Taylor. I don't think this is a very good team.
Yeah, I mean, this game is truly concerning for Cardinals fans. I don't think it'll be as much of a problem. I think the Chiefs are very good, and like you said, I do think that Patrick Mahomes kind of came out here with an attitude that he would just kind of dominate. He's going to try to prove that he doesn't need, Tyreek Hill, and he's not just chucking it up and Tyreek Hill's getting the majority of the yardage. That's not what's happening. No, Patrick Mahomes was near perfect, 30 of 39, 360 yards and 5 touchdowns. That's incredible. And the thing that gets me is how much he spreads it around. Like Juju's getting some work, Kelsey's getting some work, Valdez-Scantling getting a few touches here. Clyde Edwards-Helaire catching 2 touchdowns. Hardman catching a touchdown. Fortson catching a touchdown. Who is that? I don't even know. But he's just spreading it around. He's just playing unselfish football, and he's still one of the best quarterbacks, maybe the best quarterback. This is why I chose to watch him for the game that I'm going to live, because
Taylor, when we picked an Eagles game last year, I've said it on the show, I've told you plenty of times now, we saw the Eagles play the Chiefs, and my one, solace in it was even if the Eagles lose, I mean, I got to see Patrick Mahomes in person, and let me tell you, it's impressive to watch. It
That's
really,
exactly my
it really
strategy.
is. It's really impressive just to watch him just cut defenses apart. Chargers Raiders, it was a very hyped up game as well. As we talk about this AFC West, the Chargers look good, and defensively they really stepped up. And like we talked about last week, if this defense stays healthy and they can be good, they're going to be very, very, very good, and really push to be the AFC team to beat this year. The Raiders, though, however, like you saw what Devontae Adams brings to the table. You saw the improvements, especially on the defensive side of the ball, but you saw bad Derek Carr. You saw bad Derek Carr. And this is where, like, I'm held back with the Raiders because Derek Carr will have games that he will win you, but he will most certainly lose you games as well. This was not one for Derek Carr to hang his hat on.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. I also think that they also kind of suffered from the fact that the Chargers are so dangerous offensively that he is trying to, Derek Carr was trying to make too much happen. But yeah, this is the problem. The one problem that the Raiders do have is that you can't fully trust Derek Carr, because I do think their defense was good. I think they helped holding the Chargers to 24 points. I think is an accomplishment because they have such a good offense. Crosby is as good as ever. I really like Max Crosby. Devontae Adams did Devontae Adams things. 10 receptions, 141 yards, and a touchdown. Like, you can't ask for Devontae Adams to do much better than that. The only thing holding them back is 3 interceptions by Derek Carr. Like, if you turn the ball over like that, you're not going to win games, and you only lost 24-19. That's a 1 possession difference. That is 3 interceptions right there that you gave away possessions that you could have scored on. And that's going to be the difference. You're right.
And look, the Chargers look good. Herbert looks really good as well. The Sunday night football game, and I am not just wearing this shirt because I'm an Eagles fan and it's an Eagles guy pissing on a Cowboys helmet. But let me tell you something. Dallas is in panic mode. The Buccaneers obviously look fine, especially defensively. Not worried about Brady and company, really, to be honest with you right now. The concern here is in Dallas because even before Dak got hurt, he is out 4 to 6 weeks, had surgery on his hand. This offense looked horrible. The Cowboys were the only team not to score a touchdown over the past week, just so you know. And this is a Cowboys team like, look, they're still feeding Ezekiel Elliott the football the most. Pollard's clearly the more effective back. You only had going into the game 1 wide receiver that had a true NFL catch. That was CeeDee Lamb. The offensive line is not as good anymore. It's old. It's broken. Dak is losing his luster. You've seen over the past probably year or so the decline of Dak Prescott. He didn't show up in the playoff game. This offensive game plan is stagnant. He was not accurate with the football. He was missing receivers. Receivers weren't getting separation. It was a stagnant offensive approach. The defense did fine. I mean, if you hold the Buccaneers to 19 points, you're doing something right. But this is a Cowboys team that I think has gone from maybe pushing the Eagles for the division, maybe becoming a wild card team, to if this stays the case and Dak doesn't come back as quickly as possible, they're the worst team in this division.
I think there's a very valid point to that being the case. I mean, when you look at it, you're losing your starting quarterback. You're going to trot out Cooper Rush.
And they already said they're not making a big quarterback move. They're going with Cooper Rush. Good luck.
Your offensive line is not healthy. It's not the best in the league anymore. Your running back situation,
not even close.
No, your running back situation is an aging running back who you refuse to not play in favor of the more efficient back behind him because you paid millions and millions of dollars to this guy. Your starting wide receiver core is pretty weak after
CeeDee Lamb and some guys off the street.
Who CeeDee Lamb did absolutely nothing. Trust me, I have him in a couple leagues. He did nothing the other
because
day.
defenses know, okay, defend CeeDee Lamb, no one else can beat us.
Exactly. And you don't have a tight end. I mean, Schultz is okay, but he's not someone you can rely on.
Fantasy wise, he's fine. Real life, not really. You know?
I mean, he's a good red zone threat. I think that's where a lot of his fantasy value comes in. Like, he's a big target in the red zone. He's not a guy who's going to catch it and run it like, Travis Kelce, or like get you a ton of yardage that way. But I just, I could easily see them being the worst. They don't have at least the Giants have like a Saquon that you can give it to.
And Washington is a well-coached team with some offensive talent and a decent defense.
And Montez Sweat on the Commanders apparently had the most QB pressures. He didn't get a sack, but he was pressuring a whole hell of a lot. And you still have, there's guys on that offense that defense that you like. You love their coaching. I don't love the coaching or anything. And
there's not one thing I saw from the Cowboys that I was like, they have something there. They have something there.
Like, if you take out Micah Parsons, like who's exciting on their defense?
It's Micah.
Whatever.
I know the kid. It's Micah.
Yeah, you know the kid personally. You texted him. You have him on speed dial.
I do have his number. Do you want me to share it to
you? Yeah, share it live on the whole internet.
Yeah, probably shouldn't do that. I have both Micah and Saquon's.
Well, that's pretty cool, but
do you text
them often?
I have not talked to Micah in about 2 years. Saquon, it's been about the same. Yeah, it's been about the same.
Either way,
but they would remember me, I promise.
Yeah, sure. Outside of that, who on Dallas offense or defense excites you? No one. CeeDee Lamb, maybe, but he requires. Yeah, not Diggs. I mean, we always knew that Diggs was not a good corner. He's a good ball hawk, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, you can turn him over a couple times if they throw badly, but like, you're gambling and allowing bunches of yards behind you.
Dallas is in a dark place, and I love it. Oh my God, I am so here for it. Oh, it's just like. And obviously, the Eagles fans that listen to this already understand like the pure nostalgia of Dallas just being terrible. But there's not one sports franchise, Taylor, that I hate more than that stupid star and the Dallas Cowboys. It's like the Boston Red Sox to the New York Yankees. It is just the most repulsive thing. Every time I see that stupid fucking star, I want to scream. They suck. And it's great.
I don't particularly like them either, and I especially hate like that they're America's team, quote.
Yeah, America's team, my ass. Philadelphia. This nation was born in Philadelphia. If anybody's America's team, it's the Eagles.
Yeah, sure. And more.
I have a good point there. Without Philadelphia, without the city of Philadelphia, this nation is not born. What are you going to say about it? Go ahead. Be un-American. Go for it.
It would have happened anywhere. It didn't need to happen in Philly. It just happened to happen in Philly.
It happened in Philly, the birthplace of America. Remember it. America's team, baby. Go Birds.
Okay. Whatever. America's team. I do hate all the coverage they get for no goddamn good reason.
Sunday night, that game had no business being a Sunday night football game. None.
No.
None. Nope. Give me the Giants and the Titans. Give me the Giants and the Titans instead. I would have rather seen that game.
Gross. Are you kidding me? No.
I'm kidding.
You better be kidding.
I'm kidding.
God.
Yeah.
I want to see the Chiefs play.
Monday Night Football. Oh my God. Angry.
Turns out Booger McFarland wasn't as crazy as I thought he was.
Yeah, you texted me before we saw the picks on Monday night, and Booger McFarland picked Seattle, and Taylor texted
17-14, and it was 17-16.
Is Booger high? And I didn't see the text right away, and I saw the text when Seattle was up 7-0. I'm like, maybe he wasn't, and he wasn't. Denver lost that game. Seattle did not win it. That Nathaniel Hackett just did a hack job. Just poorly mismanaged the final drive there. Obviously the conversation heard around the world right now is, who do you trust? A kicker 64 yards out, or the quarterback that you just traded moon and the universe for and gave him everything under the sun and a new contract on a 4th and 4? I'm going with the quarterback. I think I trust Russell Wilson more than Brandon McManus 64 yards out in Seattle. Just poor game management there. Denver lost that game. It did not look like they were ready to play that football game.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw the Manning cast at all.
No, I don't watch the Manning cast. I think it's annoying and incredibly stupid.
I don't watch it either, but I saw on Twitter after the fact, Peyton Manning was basically all of us, I would think, in that those last.
Oh yeah, the timeout.
Like, call timeout. Call a timeout. We should be calling a timeout right now. Call a timeout as the clock ticked down from over a minute to 20 seconds.
20 seconds.
And then they call a timeout, and Shannon Sharp was on to them, and he's like, You're gonna waste 30 seconds just to call a timeout anyway? Like, what are you doing? Like, you could have been calling timeout, like, planning something. You can even call another one. I don't know, like,
and it wasn't their last one. It wasn't their last one.
They had three. They didn't use any of them in the last drive, which they could have at any point. Like, before they even got to the 4th down, they could have called a timeout because they didn't use any of them, and they could have had a better play planned to get it on 3rd or 2nd down.
I just that whole final drive, I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, I mean, I want to give Seattle their props, but they're clearly not a good football team.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way Geno Smith was playing in the beginning there, I can't.
I thought Geno Smith was like the second coming of Jesus Christ, and I'm like, I'm sitting there feeling bad for Jets fans.
Yeah, I know, because he was 13 for 13 before he finally missed his first throw.
And I mean, he was playing with some swagger and some attitude. He was feeling himself.
Yeah, it was great, and he was impressive. Like, if he played like that his whole career, he'd be a starter. He'd have been a starter before this. I don't know if he can keep that up, but if he
Probably
can,
not.
good on the Seahawks. Probably not. Yeah, I would think not. But yeah, impressive win by Seattle. Terrible loss by the Broncos.
And yep, I'm out week 1 of Survivor because of it. Still in shock over it, to be honest with you, and I will never forgive Russell Wilson for the rest of my life. Let's go to week 2 picks. Or Nathaniel Hackett, fucking bum.
He's the real culprit.
He is. Taylor, you are 9-7. I am 7-9. The two differences last week were the Rams-Bills game. You had Buffalo, I had LA, and the Packers-Vikings, where I had the Packers and you had the Vikings. So good on you. Week 2, we're going to go through this, give some analysis, but not a whole lot. I feel like we gave a lot of team analysis on our week 1 recap, as we typically do. And then after this, we will give our fantasy studs and duds for the first time this year before we head on out of here. The Thursday night game this week, which is tonight for those that are hearing the game on the day the show airs, which is Thursday, Chargers Chiefs. This is right off the rip, Taylor, a very, 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 very good game. I will let you go first since you have the honors of having the best record. Chargers Chiefs.
Well, I hope we're gonna regret this in the end. I think these are two good teams, like really good teams, and I do think that it's gonna be a tight game. But I picked the Chargers to win the whole damn thing. They're not gonna do it if they don't win big games. I think the Chargers are gonna be able to beat the Chiefs on Thursday. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be close. But I think it could be even a shootout type high scoring game. But I think like 34-30 Chargers beat the Chiefs.
When I look at both the past games, and I liked what I saw from the Chargers. But I liked what I saw from the Chiefs more than I expected. And I think Patrick Mahomes is playing at that level in Arrowhead. I really like the Chiefs in this one because of it being in Kansas City. Would I be surprised if the Chargers win? Not in the slightest. This is going to be a very good game, but I am going to go with the Chiefs in this one. I haven't seen the Chargers coaching staff come up big in an important game yet, and until they do so, I'm not going to believe they can. So I'm going to go with the Chargers.
And that's fair. I'm just picking them because I think that if they want to get over the hump, like they have to.
Oh yeah, no, they have to win this game. That you have to start getting confidence of winning big games, and this would certainly be one in Arrowhead, prime time Thursday night football. Yeah, you need to win this game to take that next step. I absolutely agree. Jets and Browns. I mean, the Jets looked horrible.
The Jets could beat the Browns because the Browns I don't think are a good team, but I think the Browns just have more going for them right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to pick Joe. I'm sorry, I'm not. Maybe if they had Zach Wilson, but not Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I mean, Brissett is nothing crazy, but, the way that they're using Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb together, that offense is at least nominal, and their defense is incredible, and Myles Garrett is going to wreak havoc on the Jets. Especially if they try to throw it 59 times.
I am going to move on to the Commanders and the Lions. This is, this is a tough game because the Commanders look good and the Lions kind of look good as well. Detroit is at home. I'm going to go with the Lions on this one. I think that the Lions are showing signs of kind of taking that next step. I don't think they're going to win a whole lot of games this year. But I think the games that are going to be close, I think they are going to win. This is a close game with Washington. Detroit really showed some promise last week, I think. I'm going to pick them at home.
Yeah, and I'm also going to pick them. I was going to pick the Lions because, yeah, you're right. I mean, hanging with the Eagles, the way that the Eagles look is impressive. Like, they were beating them down kind of in that
in the first quarter, the Lions came out and I think kind of surprised the Eagles there a little bit.
They did, but then I think end of the first, start of the second, into the half, I think the Eagles kind of took control of the game, and then that's when it seemed like, and into the second half, that's when the game seemed like it was going to start getting out of hand. But the Lions didn't panic; they're well coached, and they worked their way back to being in the game. And I do think that the Commanders are not going to be as strong an opponent, obviously, than the Eagles. So I just think the Lions, and on baseline with a bad team, they're going to be more apt to win. They just have so much going for them offensively. I pick the Lions in this game.
Tampa and New Orleans. Now this is a game. And if you remember, I picked the Saints to win the division. Tampa does not play the Saints very well. We know this. It's in New Orleans. I'm going the Saints. I think the Saints are going to win the division. Tampa looked fine, especially defensively, but there's something about New Orleans that gets Tampa, and I think the Saints win.
I also am going to pick the Saints for those same reasons. I mean, they do kind of have the Buccaneers number. They have Tom Brady. These Tom Brady Buccaneers especially, somehow, like their pass rush or something just makes Brady uncomfortable. And, the Saints eked out that win, but hopefully this week they're going to have a strong Kamara back, not banged up, so they can use him a little more. I mean, the fact that they're able to come back and win that game without using him as much as they did, just relying on Michael Thomas, who seems back, and, that all that, I think the Saints find a way to win, especially if they're at home, which they are.
Definitely. Panthers and the Giants. Look, the Giants beat a very bad Titans team. The Panthers squeaked, barely lost to the Browns. Should have beaten the Browns. I'm going to go Carolina in this one. I think they do have a little more talent than the Giants. I think the Giants, are riding a little high, but I think they get some humble pie and realize maybe they aren't that good because they should have lost to the Titans. Don't get it twisted with a 1-0 record. Yes, the Giants won, but they were not impressive. Not that the Panthers are very good, but I think they are a better team.
Yes.
I do think the Panthers are better. I think they're more dynamic, and quarterback wise, I guess I
take Baker over Daniel Jones
more than Daniel Jones. I do think that a lot of the Panthers' reliance on Christian McCaffrey is similar to the way that the Giants rely on Saquon Barkley. But as long as they're both healthy, they can both put up their offenses for their teams. But eventually, the Giants have to, prove that they're a bad team, because they are. Like, the win against the Titans is more a reflection on how bad the Titans are, I think, than how good the Giants are, and it's going to show in this game because the Panthers played okay last week, and I really do think that they wish that they had that last one back, and they're gonna try and come out and beat the lowly Giants.
Colts and Jaguars. I do not need to ask Taylor who he is taking, and quite honestly, you don't have to ask me either. I will take the Colts. Look,
the only argument
you guys
have to win eventually.
Beat the Jaguars eventually, right?
You have to, right? It's been since
maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not.
I mean, if you believe that trends are going to continue, then maybe
I'm a big trends guy. So I'm kind of surprised in myself, but
I mean, last year I bet on the Jags because I didn't trust the Colts going into Jacksonville, and maybe it'd be worth it to throw a bet on the Jaguars. I don't know what the odds are, but the Colts should win this game by all accounts.
Logic
really no more than you can say.
Logic says so. Patriots and the Steelers. We talked about how bad the Patriots looked, and if you're looking for somebody that's an underdog, Patriots are 2-point favorites on the road headed to Pittsburgh. Not that I like Pittsburgh, but that defense is enough for me to take Pittsburgh because they are going to create a living hell for the Pats. And, Mitchell Trubisky is not good by any stretch, but he can manage an offense, and I think he did just that against the Bengals, right? I mean that's kind of where the Steelers found success, going with the Steelers over the Pats. The Pats showed me nothing to believe that they can beat the Steelers on the road.
And agreed. I think the loss of TJ Watt is going to be big for the Steelers, but they still have a great defense around him. Minkah Fitzpatrick went out of his mind last week. Blocked field goal and interception, 14 tackles. The man was a beast, and I just think that the Steelers' defense is going to be too much for what little the Patriots have on offense. And then the Steelers' offense on the other side, Mitch Trubisky can win games. He's definitely done it before. He can be the game manager. Maybe he makes a few bad throws, bad interceptions here and there, but if he doesn't do too much, give it to Najee Harris. Yeah, I picked the Steelers.
And I mean, look, it's going to be a interesting game for sure. Did you know that it's not Heinz Field anymore?
I did not. What is it now?
It is Acrisure Stadium.
Okay.
Since when is it not Heinz Field?
It must be new.
So the big ketchup bottle is gone off the scoreboard?
I would assume so.
Huh. Isn't that a shame? Ravens and Dolphins. Ravens home opener. The Dolphins did some nice things against the Pats, but it's not going to be enough against my AFC representative for the Super Bowl, which is Baltimore.
Yeah, I'm picking Baltimore as well. I don't have them representing the AFC, but I still think they're a great team. They're probably going to be in the AFC Championship, definitely in the playoffs. They're going to beat the Dolphins. Lamar, revenge tour, not getting his contract, mad about it. He's going to go in and especially at home.
Falcons, Rams. Rams, I expect to fully bounce back here. The
they
Falcons are not a very good team, and you're at home against the Falcons. You need to win this game.
It's essentially a must-win for them. I mean, obviously their season isn't down the tubes.
You have them going to the Super Bowl, so you really gotta hope.
You're right, and I kind of regret that after 1 week, but I'm not going to overreact. So yeah, the Rams.
Week one is the definition of overreaction.
Yeah, the Rams need a get-right game, and it's perfect that they have the Falcons right here. They should destroy them.
Niners and Seahawks. Seahawks coming off their high of beating Russell Wilson on week one's home opener. The Niners will not be playing in slop, so
Yeah.
expect improvement there. San Francisco's the better football team. They need a win. They're going to get it.
So the first game of the season for the Niners this week, because we don't count that last one because I don't think we learned anything from it.
No.
So yeah, this game is going to be really telling on both sides. If the Seahawks are able to beat the Niners, then it's like,
Maybe we should pay
are you
attention.
for real?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I expect the Niners to win this one, and I hope to see a big showing from Lance and Debo and all their complimentary pieces.
So this next game was supposed to be a good game. It no longer is. Bengals Cowboys, both 0-1. Cowboys will now be starting Cooper Rush. This was going to be a very good game, but now honestly becomes a no-brainer. The Bengals should easily handle the Dallas Cowboys.
And especially because the Bengals are coming off a loss, like they need to go in and crush this sorry Cowboys team.
Sorry's being kind. Houston and Denver, the 0-1 Houston Texans head to Mile High for the Broncos home stadium. I forget who the Texans tied. I have to check that. But I mean, good God, if Denver starts 0-2 with Seattle and Houston, my goodness, Denver should win this game.
Again, it's kind of like the Rams. Like you can't. You just
can't. No,
you can't.
You can't.
You need to win this game. You need a bounce back game. You need to win this game.
I picked them to win the AFC West. I'm quickly regretting that. Bad. Just bad. The Cardinals and the Raiders. I do like the Raiders in this one.
I picked the Cardinals because I did pick the Cardinals to make the playoffs. They're going to need to start somewhere. I think, that was a rough game against Kansas City, but that's Kansas City. And the Raiders have issues that Kansas City maybe does not, mainly at the quarterback position, like we talked about Derek Carr. I think the Cardinals can have a bounce back game, and I think they can go in and win this game.
Okay. Sunday Night Football, Bears-Packers. The Bears are not very good. Don't take the fact that they're 1-0 for more than it is. They won in a slop fest. Packers aren't clearly very good either right now, but they still do have Aaron Rodgers. And against a much lesser of an opponent against the Bears at home in Lambeau, Packers, again, we had this conversation with Arizona. We've had this conversation with the Rams. Packers have to win this game.
Agreed. And, I think Justin Fields played well, and I think he's an intriguing quarterback. I think that there's a potential for Justin Fields to make the Bears offense be good, like be pretty good. Their defense is still sus. I really do like Fields. I think he's coming along nicely. The problem is the rest of the team around him and the fact that you have an angry 0-1 Aaron Rodgers at the helm of a Green Bay team in Lambeau against the team that, as he put it himself, he owns. He owns the Bears. So I unless the wide receivers are literally garbage and they just keep dropping wide open passes, I don't see a way for the Bears to beat the Packers. And if the Packers start 0-2, sound the alarm bells, because damn, like that's panic
especially
mode.
To the loss to the Bears. Like, look, the Bears are not a good football team, so that would be problematic.
And if the wide receivers are an issue again, it's like that's not changing. Like, you're not getting another wide receiver anytime unless you sign Odell or something. But like, unless you do something drastic like that, it's not happening. And
Rodgers and Odell, talk about two A-type personalities right there. Oh my God. Titans and Bills. I mean, look, if you think I'm picking the Titans after they absolutely just did a choke job to the New York Giants, you are just absolutely mistaken. I am taking the Bills at home for their home opener over the Titans.
Yeah, I as well. I mean, the Bills are the Bills. They're really good. I think Josh Allen could win MVP this year the way he's playing. I don't think that they're going to win the Super Bowl like a lot of people think, but I do think that, they proved
that they are a force to be reckoned with, and this Titan squad is god awful. So I think another easy victory for the Bills. Probably won't be because I just said it was an easy victory. It's probably gonna be like a slugfest and shootout.
Titans ride Derrick Henry's 182 yards on the ground to keep Bills' team off the field and win this game.
Yep. Or like the infamous Jacksonville game last year where the Bills lost like 6-0 or whatever it was.
Yeah, there you go. It was such a great game. Yeah. Final game of the week 2 slate. My Birds take on Justin Jefferson and the Vikings in the home opener at the Link. The Eagles look really good, especially offensively, and I know the Vikings look good too, and Justin Jefferson's a madman, but the Eagles at home are a different beast. They do not lose at the Link. This is a good football team with more than just division aspirations on the line. They are the better football team than the Vikings as a whole. Plus, Kirk Cousins doesn't win in prime time. Eagles are going to win this one.
I'm really tempted to pick the Vikings.
I'm sure you are.
I did pick them to win the division. But I will go with the Eagles. I do agree with you that in prime time, it's not best to pick
Kirk Cousins.
But
not the greatest idea.
And I would not be surprised in the slightest if the Vikings win this game. I'm just not man enough to pick them. I do think that they could win, but the Eagles are on paper and in practice, at least for the first half of last week's game, they were the better team. I'll take the Eagles. Should be a good game, though. I'm really excited.
It'll be a very good game, and I will
2 Monday night games, which is great. The Buffalo and
I will be a nervous wreck over it. Let's go to our fantasy studs and duds. We have a couple of minutes left. We're going to spend it giving some fantasy football advice. Let's start with our stud of the week. And if you remember from last year, we each pick a stud who we really like, non-quarterback. So it could be a wide receiver, running back, or tight end. Taylor, I will let you go first. Who is your stud of the week?
So my stud of the week not necessarily is a guy that I necessarily think will go off this week, though he could. It's more of he's a guy who's only rostered even in 85% of leagues. I'm sure a lot of people picked him up as of yesterday. But if you didn't and he's still out there on your waiver wire, I think you should pick him up. And that is Robbie Anderson of the Carolina Panthers.
Taylor, who has him in the Godzilla League?
I don't know who has. Wait, do you have?
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Oh.
You have? Yeah.
No, I didn't pick him up this week. I picked him up on my dynasty.
I drafted him.
Oh, you drafted him?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, our league is deep as hell, so he gets drafted. But in a lot of leagues, he went undrafted, including in my dynasty league. He was undrafted, or maybe someone dropped him at some point. But Robbie Anderson is, I think, the legit number 2 wide receiver. He's a legitimate deep threat for the Carolina Panthers. Otis is on the screen for anyone wants to watch on YouTube. He's very cute. But I'm picking Robbie Anderson. I think he's going to be a solid guy that you can put in your flex, and week to week he might be like decently startable every week, just because
there's a conversation. Maybe he prefers Robbie over DJ Moore.
Honestly, I mean, we don't know much, and it's early, but I think for deep threat value, Robbie Anderson is going to get, like, a lot of people say, oh, well, most of Robbie Anderson's points came from 1 75-yard touchdown, but that's the thing, is that's his job, is to get those long touchdowns. He's the quick guy down the side, and so if he can keep doing that and keep popping a couple off, and even if he's just 6-7 catches for 80 yards and he doesn't get a touchdown, that's still pretty damn good for a day, especially if you're putting him in your flex spot. So Robbie Anderson, I'm all on.
I am going to go with another wide receiver, and I am going to be like the conductor of this train all year because he's not being talked about enough. Christian Kirk. And the reason I'm going with Christian Kirk, Yeah. All aboard, please.
I didn't start him this last week, but I am starting him this week.
Yes, Kirk and his big contract were running jokes all off season, right? I mean, it was just like, why'd you pay him all that money? Blah blah blah. He looked well worth it last week. Targeted 12 times, caught 6 of them for 117 yards. He also had 142 air yards, Taylor. That's the second most last week behind only Devontae Adams. They are taking shots with him. They are peppering him with targets. And I kept telling people they're paying him for a reason. He is going to be a PPR machine this year. He's clearly the focal point of the passing game, could quickly become an every week option for fantasy managers. And he's certainly in play this week against the Colts, who I don't mean to do this in a mean way, Taylor, but fact is fact, allowed the second most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. So, with that being said, if he continues,
go ahead.
If he continues to see
Stephon
volume, Stephon Gilmore's he's just a name at this point.
What? Anyone on my team is just a name, but if Stephon Gilmore was on the Eagles, he'd be the best cornerback in the league.
No, I like Jonathan Taylor a lot.
Oh, of course you do. Of course you do now.
I like Darius Leonard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you can't not like Darius Leonard.
Statistically,
he's like the best linebacker in the league, even though
I like Quentin Nelson.
Such. Yeah, okay.
Well, like Mo Alley Cox.
You like Mo Alley Cox? That was not the name I was expecting.
Went to VCU, was a basketball star there.
Well, I mean, Quentin Nelson and Darius Leonard, I mean, how could you not? But I do think that Stephon Gilmore is a much better upgrade over whoever we had.
I'm a big Mo Alley Cox fan.
I do like Mo Alley Cox a lot, too.
But Christian Kirk, I think, will have a nice week. Let's go to our duds, Taylor, and, I'll let you start here, but I mean, there's plenty to choose from. I think a lot of people are out there scratching their heads, figuring out what did they do, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, I'm gonna go with one that honestly, maybe it's obvious at this point, but maybe you're still gonna start him. I think, in my opinion, Ezekiel Elliott should not be started at all. For the first,
and he was untouchable for me when it came draft time. It could have been Ezekiel Elliott and Breece Hall. I was taking Breece Hall. No way am I touching Ezekiel Elliott. No.
There's so much, especially this week. There's just so much stacked up against Elliott. First week with Dak Prescott out, it's going to be a Cooper Rush game. They don't have many weapons on the offense, wide receiver wise. We talked about this. That's why, CeeDee Lamb's going to get bracket coverage. And you guess what else they're going to do? Probably stack the box for Zeke and or Pollard. 3, I just mentioned he's sharing the backfield with Pollard. And 4, they're going up against the Bengals. And, Bengals might not have the best run defense in the world, but against the Steelers, who have a pretty good running back in Najee Harris, they held him to, I think, 10 carries and 23 yards. Now, Najee Harris is dealing with a little foot injury. Chase Claypool got 6 carries for 36 yards, but overall, they only allowed 75 yards rushing, and that's pretty damn good. Bengals are going to be angry. Bengals are going to know that they're going to have to run to try to get any offense. If not, try to throw it to CeeDee Lamb, which, with Cooper Rush, I don't know how the Cowboys are going to move the ball at all. So if you have any backup at all that you can throw in for Zeke, I would take him out immediately. I don't even like Pollard, but at least Pollard has some upside because he catches passes.
Right. I am going to go with Cam Akers.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm doing it is to reiterate that we all told you so, to stay away from Cam Akers in your fantasy drafts. And he rewarded any of you scrubs that decide to draft him with 0 points on 3 rushing attempts for 0 yards. He cannot be started in even deeper formats. He played 18% of the snaps last week, saw 3 touches, like I said. The 0 fantasy points is an oopsies. Sean McVay, after the game, pretty much called him out and said he has to run with more urgency. Not
How
good.
Do you not run with more, like you're running. The act of running, I feel like you should have urgency.
It is the opposite of what you want to see from a running back, especially an early round picked running back. I get it. He's working his way back from the torn Achilles. He was banged up in the preseason, but that's just it. Like he's not there. You know what? And even against an enticing matchup against the Falcons, it's not. I'm not saying drop him if you drafted him, because you probably drafted him 5th round, 6th round, depending what league you're in. It's not time to start him either, though. So you have to just pray to God that like Darrell Henderson falls off the face of the planet because he is untouchable right now.
There's certain places on fantasy Twitter that I'm seeing people say like they've dropped him or drop him, and I'm like,
I'd pick him up and stash him.
I can't, but like I don't, if you dropped him, I wouldn't call you crazy necessarily, but I would. He's stashable at least because there may be games where he comes in, or if something happens to Darrell Henderson, which has happened in the past.
You paid up basically to get Cam Akers. I mean, you had to take a pretty high draft pick. I wouldn't be dropping.
Well, I
wouldn't have drafted him in the first place.
Well, I agree and disagree, but I do think that you can get into a trap if you just, because you already sunk a draft pick into this guy, hold him for no reason. If there's someone better out there, then definitely go for it. If you're getting a Jeff Wilson, you can drop a Cam Akers if that's where you want to go. I think that that's an upgrade, regardless of if you spend a 5th round pick on him or not. But right. I do think that there's a chance Cam Akers could be somewhat relevant. But as far as right now, it looks like it's Henderson's show, unless something, if he gets injured. That seems to be the only thing, because Henderson also looked good. Like he ran fairly well. It was one of the best I've seen the Rams running game for parts of that game. I mean, obviously it didn't last the whole game, but they couldn't run it once they got down by more. But yeah, I think Cam Akers is not startable, is hardly rosterable unless something happens to Henderson. He's kind of like a handcuff guy at this point, it seems.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad if you're in the Cam Akers. We tried to warn everybody, but I mean, if you got yourself a Cam Akers situation, I really don't know what to tell you at this point.
Not on my team, I'll tell you
that. Not on any of mine either.
I have 6, and he's not on any of them.
Nope. Didn't touch him. That'll do it for this week's episode of Sports with a Z and a T. And, hopefully you take some of our fantasy advice. Hopefully you take some of our NFL picks, take them into some parlays, have some fun at it. Enjoy the big weekend of football. Another big packed football weekend ahead. Penn State on Saturday, Eagles on Monday, Sunday. See, sometimes I like when the Eagles are on Monday because I can just watch Sunday Ticket. Mm-hmm. Or Red Zone, and just 7 hours of commercial-free football. Oh, it's beautiful.
It's actually I found that it's easier to watch other games now because the Thursday night games are now on Amazon Prime, so you can watch them there if you have that. Monday night
that kind of pisses me off though. Like I would rather just be able to turn on my TV, put on NBC, and call it a night. Now I have to log into my Amazon Prime account on my Roku. Give me a fucking break.
Well, I mean,
it drives me nuts. I hate that. I hate it.
I think it's nice since I have all of it on my Apple TV just sitting there. And then the Monday night game, because Disney owns everything, I'm able to watch on Hulu because the ESPN, Hulu, all owned by Disney. Right. And so I was able to do that. And so Sunday day games are the only games I have to stream, I think. So that's nice.
There you go.
Like illegally stream on, sites. It was actually rough this week. Did you? I assumed you did, unless you had some type of way to watch the Eagles. A lot of the
I have Sunday Ticket.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Well, a lot of the servers for the illegal streams were down. So
I have Sunday Ticket. So what I do is I use my parents' address because they're eligible, and use my own account because you can get DirecTV, or you don't have to have DirecTV to get Sunday Ticket if you use an address that's eligible. So I just use my parents' address and I sign in on my Roku on the app and watch Sunday Ticket there. But the Eagles were the local game, so I didn't have to worry about it. The Eagles were the local Fox game up here.
Yeah.
So I had no problem. So I just put on Red Zone after.
Yeah.
Because I don't watch it when the Eagles are on. I don't watch other games. The Eagles, just Eagles. Because we're the greatest team ever. Thanks for hanging in with us. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and or YouTube. If you'd like to see the, appearance by Otis, you would have to watch us on YouTube. Our Twitter accounts have been below all night at sports_podcast is the Twitter feed for the show, and myself and Taylor at ZBryce21 and at TLats with 2 T's and 2 S's. We can be found, like I said, Spotify, Apple, and or YouTube. We are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Johnstone Supply in Troy, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the nice weather for this weekend. And we will catch you next week right here on Sports with a Z and a T.